to the Diplomacy Timing Window, where the rules are discussed and our opinions don't matter. My name is Kazadoom.
I'm Hungry Hippos.
And I'm the Half-Heard.
We have a very special episode for our listeners today. With us, we have the 2021 map contest winner and prominent Twilight Wars community member, Strovel. Welcome to the show, Strovel.
Kaza, thank you much, gentlemen. It's good to be with you.
Great to have you. Thanks for taking the time this evening.
Mm-hmm.
So, first thing I think we wanted to have a chat with you about, obviously, is, congratulations on the successful entry to the 2021 map contest. Seems to be a great map. We want to talk about it a little bit, but first question I have for you is, have you had a chance to try it yet?
I am in 3 games with that map, and everybody hates it.
I cannot tell you the amount of loathing that I have for that map right now. I'm friggin' extra, the turtles, and their starting units suck as it is, but like, how is the end of the second round and I've got like 1 system?
Well, if you don't have mobility, you're done. I'm Sardak in one of those games. I'm like, what is even the point of that? So, yeah, I mean, it has done what it, I think, set out to do. And,
cause frustration.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it was what it was supposed to be.
I think, as much as I hate it, it has a certain genius about it, because it either forces you to like really cooperate with your neighbor or, destroy the hell out of each other.
I'm in 1 game, at least 2 of the 3 games, actually, now that I think about it, where there is a shared system meta going on between me and one of my neighbors. And that's usually something I don't hardly ever think about. So maybe it may be pushing some new thought about ways to play. I don't know.
Is that where you toss the system back and forth like every round? Some kind of arrangement like that?
That, but also just one person will take one planet and the other will take the other. And
that's interesting.
Coexist in that space.
That's super interesting.
And
like
because
that.
Both planets are worth so much, it's an ideal situation, and therefore you can concentrate elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can die over Barrag Lurda, or you can come to an agreement with your neighbor.
Coexistence in Twilight Imperium.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Until such time as it's more beneficial for you to take it over completely.
Yep.
I feel like it forces a lot of conversation early game. You have to coordinate a bit with your neighbor or your far neighbor that has the empty space between you.
Yeah, I can see a lot more early kind of diplomacy talking going on around the table for sure.
I haven't seen, there's been a little bit of talk on the Discord, but I haven't seen a lot. I don't think there's been a completed game with it. I can't imagine there would be. So, we'll, in the next couple of weeks, maybe we'll start to get some completed games coming in and really see what it's done to people.
Yeah,
I expect the blue factions to dominate because they can get an early lead, but then it could also turn out that everybody gangs up on them. So who knows?
Yeah. Well, I can also see, I feel like getting early space stock on your adjacent second ring system would be a big decision, right? Because then that gives you access to all those planets within 1 tile, essentially for the rest of the game.
Well, and with no system directly in front of your home system, you can't just step out 1 system and then decide what you'll do next. You have to have a plan with your first move.
Unless you're me, in which case you just make it up as we go.
Well, you could move into blank space, and take nothing with that first move. That would be different.
Yeah,
certain factions might be able
I
to
think
do
I have a game where I will just like 1 move take my adjacent system, next move fly 1 or 2 carriers into the empty space and decide what to do next turn. So yeah, that's fun.
I would have thought that this map would have helped some of the weaker early game factions, because everyone's kind of restricted to generally taking 1 system to start anyways.
Well,
right? So some of those factions I would have thought would have had a little bit of a better time with that arrangement.
I think it could help Winu, if they can get gravity drive early, and if other factions that might race them to Rex or take them off of Rex right after they get there are now pushed into the equidistance. Maybe it lets Winu stay on Rex.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. It would probably help
Yeah.
out ghosts as well. I find the ghosts of Croesus have, at least in the games I've used them, don't start out that great.
Yeah,
I
starting.
think they're one of
They
the
start
best
with
picks in
gravity drive,
this.
so
I think they're one of the best picks in this setup, actually.
that'll be interesting to see. And I mean, you know, we kind of sounds like we got a feel for early game frustration. It'll be very interesting to see if that lingers to the late game, or if there'll be a change in perceptions come late game.
And we'll see if any eliminations spring from it too, because I could see just totally wearing yourself out in a fight over an equidistant, and then your other neighbor just comes flying in.
Yep.
Well, Strovel, we all love our Twilight Imperium 4 and our beloved Twilight Wars app. I'm curious, like, how did you get into essentially this community? That first of all, how did you get into Twilight Imperium? Was it a previous generation, or Twilight Imperium 4s where you got started? And then how did you find out about Twilight Wars app?
Well, I'm still really a noob, actually. A friend of mine who is
28
Mike,
completed games noob. I love it.
well, not in that way, but to the whole world, I'm still new. My friend Mike, who you may know on the app by his name Mike, he had a copy of the game, and he told me for a couple months last fall, he's like, "Oh, we got to get you playing this game. It's like Risk meets Star Wars meets Monopoly." You know, and I'm like, all right, well, and it worked out that maybe we played for the first time right before Thanksgiving, where I joined his small group. And then it's just one of those things. It's like, it's drinking from the fire hose for that first game. And then I'm like, I need to figure this out. So I borrowed his copy of the game, and I like cataloged every card. And I
That's
got
fantastic.
my spreadsheet going, and I dove into it head first. And then probably about the second week of the new year, I was kind of just exploring the community on Facebook, and somebody mentioned the app. And I had played a couple of rounds of TPS, never a full game. And I was open to try sort of any forum for the game. And I just jumped in with both feet to the app, and here we are.
That's interesting. There's a Facebook community, and also your friend Mike got you into it. Halford, you remember when we played with our friend Mike, and his very first game, he played with us. We did a 14-point game in person before this whole pandemic situation.
Oh my.
And yeah, he jumped
Probably
in
a
with both
14-hour
feet.
affair.
Yeah, but it was hilarious. We learned from him. He brought in like this spiral notebook with notes. He was taking notes after every turn. It was professional.
Oh, it changed my game for sure.
Yeah, and it's probably what inspired the fact that the app has a note feature. That guy, and it was, you know, he almost won his very first game, and you know, we weren't exactly noobs playing it, but maybe we were.
In hindsight.
And I would say that all that preparation has pushed my win rate up to, and this is a big announcement, my win rate is now 3%.
Oh,
3%?
that's great. I
Nice.
didn't know that. Congratulations, my man.
I'm not a maiden anymore. I won it. Well, it was only a 3-player, but I won one today.
Ah, that's where it starts,
Nice.
my man. I still haven't won a 6-player myself, so I'm still clawing and scratching for my first 6-player win.
Oh, so close. I'm sorry I took it from you.
You did in that one game. I'm still bitter about it.
I'm going to get it to a bitter story soon, but we'll get there. So with your 3% win rate, how is it you're avoiding rushed dumb moves?
Well, I'm not, clearly. That's probably the whole thing. I kind of specialize in at least one rushed dumb move per game. Sometimes it's like I don't play fleet logistics when I have a move that could save my game and I've just totally forgotten it. It can be, you know, spending too many trade goods down on something when I need to save them for an objective. I mean, just once every game there is something. And what I try to do is keep I use up all the 1,000 characters of the notes tab in the games. And I have a template that I paste into it.
I've seen your
And
template.
yeah,
It's
well, it works great until it doesn't, is what happens.
yeah, I took your template and I cut it probably into a quarter because I just couldn't keep up with the sheer volume of information that was in there. So I said, let me focus on at least 25% of the things, and at least that way I'll get those 25% instead of not getting any of them because I'm information overloaded.
What is this famed template? Can I has?
Yes, cheeseburger. Yeah, I'll send it. I mean, if you guys want to post it somehow, that's cool too.
I remember you shared it on the Discord a while back. And essentially it kind of went through like all the different things you'd want to keep track of. What secondaries do I want to spend tokens on? What objectives do I want to try to accomplish? What what techs what's my tech tree look like? Stuff of that nature.
Yeah, it's really helpful, I think, at the start of a round to have a plan. It's like, oh, politics comes up. That's the first card played. Oh, well, politics would be great. Well, yeah, but you really need to save a token for warfare and tech or whatever. I mean, I think it's
exactly helpful. Yeah. I also that's I think the most important thing to map out where the tokens go, the strat tokens.
And that's why Kaza wins everything.
Sorry.
Yeah, you got to teach us your secret one day.
Well, the first 4 games that I was in with Kaza, he won them all. I think
that was pretty.
Beat him in another game.
That was pretty crazy. I didn't realize. Yeah, that was. But honestly, I mean, it's just a lot of luck, and then you have to set yourself up for the luck. I mean, as you said, like you have a notebook with all the stuff mapped out, and it's like the secrets you have to keep in mind. And then
does setting yourself up for luck mean relying on people forgetting their technology so that you can score that very last point and win the game?
Yeah.
Is this a reference to something? Am I
yes, this is very big.
This sounds like
reference.
a jab.
I'm super bitter about it. I'm more bitter than you're probably bitter towards me, Half-Heard. So I'm playing this game with Kaza. There's a Felix Turtle, I believe. He was at 9 points. The rest of us were at like below 5.
He had more than double than the rest of the table at some point.
Kaza thankfully took his home system. Got to hand it off to him. I took the opportunity to go from 3 points to 9 points in a single round.
Wow.
I had the 10th point, but Kaza freaking Kaza stopped me from a 7-point round. And then of course the next round started. And he chose Imperial, and I was like, why? I didn't even think that he would have been able to win by Imperial, but he ended up taking one of the planets that I owned where I had a bunch of infantry on and a PDS, but I forgot to use Megan.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and
I mean, I landed with 4 dudes. You shot 2 down. 1 you could have Meganed, and then we had 1 hit each, so I would have drawn the combat, but I would have kept the planet, and I couldn't have fleet logistics into Imperial to score the 6 same planet types. So it was like a snowball. It was my last out, and like 4 dudes tried to land against 1 infantry and 2 shots.
So if I've learned anything from that story and from Strovel's account previously, is that avoiding dumb mistakes is probably not always possible. So the next question I'm going to pose to you, Mr. Strovel, is how do you handle these mistakes so they don't crush and consume your life?
Who says that they haven't is the question. No. It was best summed up by the classic quote from Mel Brooks, and that is, tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you walk into an open sewer and die. And
Mel Brooks, the legend.
Yeah.
Very appropriate.
So, I mean, there are times I feel like some cross between Daffy Duck and George Costanza, if I want to date myself too much. But I mean, you just deal with it. You can't expect perfection. You're gonna make mistakes. You'd like to not make a mistake every game, but it's great frustration for a short time, and then like, oh, what's the next game I'm getting into?
I just do better next time. That's also my
Yeah.
my goal somehow.
I try to live by that philosophy too, of just, you know, you just forget and move on. I had a game recently where I overspent on production, and it was funny because I knew I overspent, and I saw the warning message that said, "Warning, you are about to overspend. Are you sure you want to do this?" But because I'm on mobile, my thumb is already, you know, my muscle memory is just too ingrained, and I'm going for that confirm, and I can't pull the thumb back in time. And I was very devastated, but you know,
mistakes
talking about
made.
huge
you
mistakes.
understand
I
that-
mean,
Go ahead.
just going back to the game that I luckily won because Megan was forgotten. That game, I think I shredded my flagship 2 or 3 times by dumb mistakes because I forgot that there was like a few PDS around, and I got super frustrated, and I would have nearly thrown the game.
Well, and on the Discord today, somebody was asking the developers about backing up a step, and we've all been there to where we like,
Yep.
we know we just made a bad move, or maybe even it was some accidental thing, but you totally understand that they just can't get in the business of rewinding things at a certain point.
yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work for these guys, the amount of effort and time they're putting in. And yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think they understand the frustration, and I do believe it is on their radar as a thing to explore for the future. But the way I understood it from them is that it's a non-trivial kind of task, right? Like it takes time, it takes effort to implement something that's a little more complex than, you know, what we see as just a simple undo button.
I'm just thankful that the undo is still available even after you've activated someone else's system. They've passed, so as long as they haven't played a card or something, then you, when it comes back to you, you still get that undo, because there can be a negotiation there. It's like, really, are we going to do this? Can we not? And then you can negotiate and then undo it. That's
super helpful in that situation for sure.
Yeah, I'm super happy that we have that functionality.
What wasn't that Hippos? Wasn't that you and me? You're Star and I'm Nalu in a game.
Yeah, that probably was a thing. I'm not great at proactive negotiation. I usually just do, and then if someone's like, come on, I'm like, oh, then I'm open to it.
Well,
Yeah, I sometimes.
you brought 2 cruisers and a space dock, and then somebody else melted down.
Yes,
dock,
that's right. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I am not doing well in that game.
Well, and I caught heck from our buddy Mike because I didn't take out your second space dock when I could have and was going to.
Mike has not been happy with me that entire game, but you know what? I'm the type of player where, you know, it's all just fun, but if someone else is having a bad time, it feeds me. Oh. So, Strovel, have you ever had a game where you had like a comeback from behind victory, or you just had this round where you were just legendary?
Yeah, what's your best memory? I want to hear it.
In all one of my victories, I led from the front. A lot of times I've sprinted out pretty well. There was a game that Half-Heard and I were in where I was Joel Nar and got out to 13, but everybody else was pretty close behind. And then he was Necro in that game, and the table kind of chipped in on me, and I'm like, Nalu's gonna win. Nalu's gonna win.
I remember that one. That was a good one.
Nalu won, but
that was almost, you could say, stolen from you for sure. That was a well fought, hard fought game.
Yeah, it's the game, and it is what it is. A 6-month game, and it ended with me at 12. But yeah,
the investment is real.
Yeah, I mean I guess that could be a source of frustration, is if you go over to a friend's house and you play one Saturday and you end up with 4 points. Okay, well, that was 8 hours of investment. It's not 6 months of checking in on a game.
Yeah.
Tough to say which one is worse sometimes.
Well, I mean, the volume of games, I think, allows you to compartmentalize. So
Yeah,
it can be forgotten.
yeah.
What is the ideal volume of games?
Good question.
Well, I'm usually somewhere around 20 now. I remember when I got 12 open and I thought this is probably too many. But what I will say is, like, a game will stall for a week. So, I mean, the level I would say between 15 and 20 allows for sort of a constant churn of, you can check in every couple hours, maybe, if circumstances permit, and then you'll have a couple of moves you can make.
Guess I need
Seems
to
to
pump my
have
numbers
us.
up.
You do. I sit around 18, around there, give or take, generally.
I think
And
I'm at
it's
12 or 13.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
it's
also feel
definitely
like
a satisfying number in terms of amount of actions you take in a day.
exactly. Yeah, it needs to be like a kind of consistent few actions per day or throughout
Just
the
on
day.
the
Then it's
verge of
fun.
stressful. Just
But
almost
yeah,
at the point of being like, this is too much. I can't take it.
if games stall out for too long and nothing happens, then it's super hard to keep track of what I wanted to do. That's where I should keep notes, like Strovel. So
It's important, I find, to also have a good mix of games that are in early, mid, and late, because the late game, it seems like it's stalling, but it could just be two people having a week-long epic battle, right? That I find that happens quite often. So it's good to have a nice mix of games that are near the end, games in the middle, and games in the beginning, I find.
different player counts too, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for me, the most important thing is to not double up on factions, actually. I always get confused if I play a faction twice in a very similar situation.
That helps with the compartmentalizing, for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Very cool. I was curious, actually, to also ask, speaking of multiple games, do you tend to play with a similar group of players? Do you try to spread it out and get, play with different people to get different feels and different people's strategies?
The details of it almost matter very little. I mean, there are certain players in games that I will just try to avoid, and if I'm on an invite list with them and I know it's not going to be, there's just too much of a chance of it being not a game I will enjoy. If I've had a bad experience, then I will just avoid that. But I'll play with new players. I'll play with folks I play with a lot. I've been in a lot of games with Mike and with, well, all three of you guys, more with Half-Heard than Hippos or Kaza, but Ants is another guy that I've been in a lot of games with, and it's all good.
Yeah, I think I played with every one of those. Yeah, it's always been pretty decent games, very, very fair and good players.
Yeah, I feel like now that there's like this huge influx from Reddit, I tried to get into a few of those games, help out a bit.
That's very interesting. The last 48 hours, I think I counted over 40 people join.
Yeah, I had a lot of notifications. I never counted, but yeah, there was a huge influx.
Yeah, I haven't seen that spike, that kind of a spike since the original post and launch.
Well, how can we drive all those new people to this here podcast? We need to get them here.
Yeah, advertising. What's our advertising budget looking like?
Does in-kind count for cash?
I have to get some merch going, I guess.
Kaza does have a pretty decent merch channel, but it mostly is, it's all for his own personal thing, and it's pretty awesome stuff. Like the picture of his, it's very reminiscent of some of the stuff that you get there.
How do we monetize the DTW?
Well, maybe we hit it up with some controversial topics like this one. Who's better, DTW or the Space Cats Peace Turtles podcast? Let's hear it.
Do you want to go there?
No. It's a different audience. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it though? I don't know. Anyway, I feel
Although
like
I have to say, I have to take offense with one thing that was mentioned in one of the qualifier games, where I don't know, was it Hunter said that he doesn't like the Twilight Wars app because he can't manage more than one game at a time, and he's so invested into his games that he
Oh,
can't
wow.
do it over this much time.
Did he
It's
really
just
say
a
that?
different approach. Yeah, it's just different approach to the game. That's my response to that.
Guys,
I love diving into live games as much as I love spreading them out over time. It's just different perspective on the game.
It's a big tent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
hey, but that's great. That's any news is good. Any news is good news, right?
Yeah, true.
Get a nice shout out. That's cool. I didn't know that. We should find that
And like clip it.
and clip it. Yeah.
they mentioned us. They mentioned us.
We're cool. We're the
They
cool
did
kids.
Guys, the app.
No, but we also have to say like the app really improved a lot, especially since the undo feature is in. I remember times when you
Oh, yeah.
activated the system, realized, oh, I did not use Warfare before, and you were just screwed.
Even nice
It's
things
just-
like updated graphics and the new models are really nice.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the updated graphics and new models. It reminds me of those before times when I sat down for a game and there were 3D models in front of me that were, it's almost like they were tactile. Don't remember that.
But the black pieces, man, the black pieces.
Yes, the color
Yes.
schemes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Hopefully that's up on the priority list because that's a tough
Half-Heard,
one.
I can't even see your SAR pieces in that asteroid field.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
you have chaos mapping, and I'm keeping a close eye on it, but geez, I can't see a
They're
thing.
really well hidden. It's actually kind of thematically awesome, if not
It is.
practically terrible.
But yeah, it reinforces the idea of the black pieces, just like Strovel said, that we got to do something about that.
All right, we got a
Mhm.
few minutes left. Is there anything you would like to mention or shout out? Strovel there? What do you?
No, I'm joke around about listenership and everything, but I really enjoy listening to this show. And
Thank
I
you.
enjoy playing with all of you in the various games we're in, and it's actually it's exactly the sense of community. I think that I mean, we can play any board game, but you look for a sense of community, and I think this is a good example of it.
Yeah, I agree.
100%
We play
agree.
board games to hang out with fellow nerds.
Exactly, yeah.
Darn right.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree there. It gave me a sense of community in a time where it's hard to connect with people, especially when you're completely new somewhere. It's kind of this little home and niche that's just great to come back to several times an hour or a day.
That's great. Well, Strovel, thank you for joining us today. Again, pleasure to have you and really glad we got to make this work.
Well, I think we spent enough time stalling in this timing window, so let's hit the pass button and keep the game moving.